The glass walls felt like a cage. Marcus Langford slid a folder across the table, his expression cold and rehearsed. I stared at the document, my hands trembling as I read the words. Confidential Investigation Report. Emily Brooks, Senior Analyst. My name looked foreign, criminal even, printed in bold letters at the top. Around us, my colleagues pressed against the glass, their faces twisted with curiosity and something worse. Judgment. Marcus leaned back, arms crossed like a prosecutor delivering a verdict. You've betrayed this company, Emily, he said, each word landing like a punch. My access badge blinked red when I tried to swipe out. Security appeared within minutes. As they escorted me through the lobby, I caught Marcus's reflection in the glass. He was smirking. I stopped, turned, and looked him dead in the eye. My voice came out steady, quiet, dangerous. You just made the worst mistake of your career. His smirk faltered for just a second. Then I walked out into the rain. I sat in my car for an hour, rain hammering the windshield like accusations. My phone buzzed. Email notification. Termination letter. Effective immediately. No severance. No explanation beyond breach of confidentiality. I read it 3 times, searching for sense in the madness. My hands shook as I scrolled through my contacts. Who could I call? My work friends had already started ghosting me. 3 texts went unanswered. 1 was marked read but ignored. By evening I learned through LinkedIn that Marcus had told HR I confessed. A lie so bold it took my breath away. I never confessed to anything because I never did anything. But the damage was done. My reputation, built over 6 years of late nights and flawless reports, was destroyed in 6 hours. I kept reading the termination letter, stuck on one strange detail. Data breach involving Project Helix. I'd never even heard of Project Helix. I had no access to it. Whatever Marcus was accusing me of, it wasn't something I could have done. That's when I knew. This wasn't a mistake. It was a setup. 3 months earlier everything was different. I was Marcus's golden employee, the analyst he paraded in front of executives during quarterly reviews. Emily's the reason we're ahead of schedule, he'd say, grinning like a proud mentor. I'd been assigned to Project Vantage, a massive data-driven acquisition proposal worth millions. Marcus promised me a promotion if I delivered early. So I worked through weekends, skipped lunches, and turned raw numbers into strategy gold. The night we finished, Marcus took the team out to celebrate. We crowded into a downtown bar, drinks flowing, laughter loud. I felt proud, accomplished, seen. Then Marcus's phone buzzed. His face changed instantly. The easy smile vanished, replaced by something tense, almost panicked. He stepped outside to take the call. I followed a minute later to grab some air. Through the window, I saw him pacing, phone pressed tight to his ear. I couldn't hear everything, but one word cut through the noise. Helix. He said it twice urgently. When he came back inside, he was all smiles again. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. After that night, Marcus started acting strange. He'd disappear for hours without explanation. His calendar mysteriously blocked with external meetings. I noticed him taking calls in the stairwell, voice low and clipped. One afternoon I needed a file from the shared drive. That's when I saw it. 2 versions of the same quarterly financial report. One was clean, standard. The other had altered figures, projections inflated by nearly 30%. My stomach dropped. I clicked on the second file, trying to understand why it existed. The door opened. Marcus stood there, eyes sharp. Find what you need, he asked, voice casual but dangerous. Closed the file quickly. Just looking for the Vantage summary. He moved closer, leaning over my shoulder. Good. Don't poke around where you don't belong, Emily. It's not a good look. I nodded, heart pounding. The next day, he praised me in front of the entire department. His arm around my shoulder like we were best friends. But later he sent me an NDA via email. It wasn't part of my original contract. The subject line read, "For your protection." I signed it because I didn't know what else to do. Things got worse quickly. Marcus started excluding me from meetings I'd normally attend. "We're streamlining," he explained when I asked. But I saw my colleagues exchanging looks. He'd drop comments in passing. "Emily's been a bit sloppy lately, hasn't she?" Or "Let's double-check her numbers." Subtle but effective. My confidence started cracking. Then he asked me to run a data extraction for what he called a partner audit. Seemed routine, standard compliance work. I pulled the files he requested, organized them neatly, and sent them through the proper channels. Or so I thought. A week later, I discovered those files had been sent externally, to an email address I didn't recognize. When I checked the transfer logs, my username was there, clear as day. I confronted IT. They showed me the timestamps. The files were sent at 2 in the morning on a Tuesday. I was home asleep. "Someone used my login," I said, panic rising. The IT specialist shrugged. "Your credentials, your responsibility." I tried explaining it to Marcus. He listened, nodding sympathetically. Then he said, "You're lucky I'm protecting you, Emily. Don't make me regret it." That's when I realized. I wasn't being protected. I was being framed. The whispers started spreading like poison through the office. People who used to grab coffee with me suddenly had urgent meetings. Liam, my closest work friend, started avoiding eye contact. I cornered him in the break room. "What's going on?" He hesitated, then sighed. "People are saying you're reckless. That you've been sending files to competitors." My blood went cold. "That's not true." He looked at me, searching my face. "I want to believe you." But he didn't sound convinced. Marcus called me into his office that afternoon. He was calm, almost fatherly. "I know things have been hard for you lately," he said. "But I need you to stay focused. Don't do anything that might make this worse." I noticed something on his desk. An external hard drive, half hidden under a folder. The label read, "Helix Data, Confidential." My breath caught. Marcus followed my gaze and casually slid a report over the drive. "That'll be all, Emily." I left his office knowing two things. Marcus was hiding something, and whatever it was, he was willing to destroy me to protect it. I had to find out what. I started working late, waiting until the office emptied before digging into Marcus's files. I didn't have his password, but I had access to shared folders most people forgot existed. On a Thursday night, alone under fluorescent lights, I found it. A folder labeled Langford Analytics LLC. Clicked it open. Inside were contracts, payment receipts, and data exports, all linked to a shell company under Marcus's wife's name. The files were identical to the ones I supposedly leaked. My heart raced as I traced the paper trail. Marcus had been funneling company data to his own firm, then selling it to Helix Partners, a rival company, for personal profit. The dates matched perfectly. He'd set me up to take the fall. I was about to copy the files to a USB when I heard footsteps. The door opened. Marcus stood there, jacket slung over one shoulder, eyes locked on mine. He closed the door slowly, deliberately. "You've seen too much, Emily." His voice was soft, almost sad. He wasn't angry. That was worse. He leaned against the desk. "I can make this look like your mess, or we can forget this ever happened. Your choice." I said nothing. He smiled. "Smart girl." The next morning, IT flagged my account for unauthorized file activity. I was suspended by noon. HR wouldn't let me speak, wouldn't hear my side. Marcus gave a company-wide statement that afternoon. His voice smooth and concerned. "We've discovered an internal breach. I take full responsibility for not catching this sooner." He painted himself as the hero who caught the traitor. Me. I watched from my car as colleagues filed out for lunch, heads down, whispering. My phone buzzed. A text from Liam. "I think I know what Marcus is really doing." We met at a diner outside the city, away from prying eyes. Liam looked exhausted, guilty. "I should have told you sooner," he began. He explained that months ago, Marcus asked him to rewrite datasets to inflate quarterly growth numbers. Liam refused but kept backups of the original files just in case. He slid a USB across the table. You didn't leak anything, Emily. Marcus did. I stared at the drive, hands shaking. Why are you helping me now? He met my eyes. Because I was a coward before. I'm not anymore. I took the drive and left. That night I began digging through the files. Everything was there. Falsified reports, secret contracts, payments traced back to Marcus's offshore accounts. He didn't just frame me. He'd been stealing from the company for months. I barely slept for days. My apartment became a war room. Printouts covering the floor, sticky notes mapping connections, coffee cups piling up. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became. Marcus had negotiated a side deal with Helix Partners using proprietary company data. My data, my models, my work. He sold it under the table, kept the profits, and when the board started asking questions, he needed a scapegoat. Me. But there was more. One email thread kept appearing, buried deep in the files. It showed communication between Marcus and someone inside the executive board. Someone was protecting him. I needed proof and I needed to be smart about it. My lawyer friend Vanessa laid it out plainly. Don't fight him yet. Gather everything. Document timestamps, payments, emails. Make it airtight. Followed her advice. I updated my LinkedIn profile with a vague post about new opportunities. Within hours, I received a message from a recruiter at Helix Partners. The message was friendly, professional. But one line stood out. Marcus Langford spoke highly of you. We'd love to discuss a potential role. I stared at my screen, heart pounding. Marcus had recommended me to the company he was secretly working with. He was that arrogant, that careless. I replied, I'd be interested in learning more. Helix sent me a trial project within days. They wanted a data model for predictive market analysis. When I opened the file, I froze. It was identical to a model I'd built 6 months ago for my old company. Same structure, same variables, even the same formatting quirks I used. Marcus had sold my work, my exact proprietary design, to Helix. And now they wanted me to create something I'd already made. I didn't call them out. Instead, I played along. I tweaked the model slightly, renamed a few variables, and sent it back. They loved it. Exceptional work, the recruiter wrote. You're clearly the right fit. I smiled bitterly. Course I was. I'd already done this once. While Helix courted me, I kept building my case. I traced payments from Marcus's LLC to his offshore account. I found invoices showing Helix paid him over $200,000 for consulting services. Services that included stolen company data. I documented everything in a secure folder, time-stamped and backed up in 3 locations. Meanwhile, Marcus was thriving. The board promoted him to interim CEO for saving the company from internal threats. His face was on the company homepage, grinning like a hero. I wanted to scream, but I stayed quiet and patient, because I was building something he'd never see coming. I started my countermove carefully. I didn't go to the press or blast emails. I sent one anonymous message to the board's audit committee. There may be financial inconsistencies in Marcus Langford's division. Recommend external review. That was all. No drama, no accusations. Just a seed of doubt. Within a week, the board announced an external audit. Marcus's composure cracked during the all-staff meeting. He stammered through his talking points, sweat visible on his forehead. People noticed. Colleagues who once worshipped him started asking quiet questions. I watched from a distance, working my new consulting job at a rival firm. The position gave me access to industry networks and public financial records. I used them to connect Marcus's LLC to Helix's payment structure. All legally, all above board. Then I found it. An email showing Helix's Osenji Marcus's private Gmail on a contract discussion. It was the smoking gun. But I didn't send it to the board yet. Waited. Patience was my weapon now. Marcus, meanwhile, grew paranoid. He started interrogating team members, accusing them of disloyalty. He fired someone for leaking to the auditors. The person he fired was innocent. The office turned toxic, tense. Marcus was unraveling and everyone saw it. Everyone except him. I crafted my whistleblower report with surgical precision. Every claim was backed by documents. Emails, invoices, payment records, timestamps. I didn't exaggerate or embellish. I didn't need to. The facts were damning enough. I submitted the report anonymously to the company's legal department and the external audit firm. No dramatic press release, no public spectacle. Just evidence, cold and undeniable. Within days, whispers began circulating again, but this time they weren't about me. People were talking about Marcus, about irregularities, about Helix. The CFO called an emergency board meeting. Marcus went silent on Slack. He stopped attending team meetings. His assistant started deflecting calls. Kept my head down, but I watched. Then Marcus tried to fight back. He hired a PR firm and accused me of forging documents, of orchestrating a corporate sabotage campaign, because I was bitter about being fired. He appeared on a local business podcast, voice smooth and confident. Unfortunately, disgruntled former employees sometimes resort to desperate measures. I listened to the episode twice, my jaw clenched. He was good. Convincing even. But he made one mistake. He underestimated me. 2 days later, I received a call from the company's general counsel, Amanda. Her voice was calm, measured. "We know you're telling the truth, Emily. Keep quiet a little longer. Let the audit finish." I agreed. And I waited. The audit results came back like a bomb. The firm found discrepancies in Marcus's division that couldn't be explained. Phantom consulting fees, unauthorized data transfers, payments to unregistered entities. Helix Partners abruptly terminated its contract with my old company, citing ethical concerns. Marcus tried to control the damage. He called a staff meeting, his voice rising as he blamed external interference and malicious actors. Someone recorded the entire meltdown. Marcus yelling, pointing fingers, accusing his own team of betrayal. His face was red, his hands shaking. It was ugly. The video leaked internally within hours. People watched in shock as their once smooth VP fell apart on camera. Board members started distancing themselves. Executives who'd celebrated Marcus weeks earlier now acted like they'd always had doubts. Vanessa advised me to go public with my story through official channels. "You've got everything you need," she said. "End this." I agreed, but I had one condition. Marcus had to see it first. I wanted him to know exactly what was coming. I sat down and compiled every document, every email, every transaction into a single file. I attached it to an email with the subject line, "You accused me of leaking data. I just leaked the truth." Copied legal and the board. Then I hit send. Marcus didn't respond. But within 3 hours, security escorted him out of the building. Colleagues watched through the windows as he walked to his car, box of personal items in his arms, face blank with shock. The company released a vague statement. "Marcus Langford is no longer with the organization. We take all allegations of misconduct seriously." By the next morning, news broke. Marcus was under investigation for corporate fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and theft of proprietary information. His name was all over industry blogs. Journalists started calling former employees. People who'd been silent suddenly had stories to tell. I received a formal apology from the board. They cleared my record, acknowledged the wrongful termination, and offered a settlement. But the apology felt hollow. They'd believed Marcus without question. They'd thrown me out without a second thought. Still, it was something. Marcus's life continued to crumble. His wife filed for divorce after reporters uncovered his offshore accounts. His professional licenses were suspended pending investigation. Former allies deleted him from LinkedIn. He became a cautionary tale, a name people whispered with disgust. Meanwhile, my phone started ringing. Job offers, consulting requests, interview invitations. People wanted to hear my story. But I wasn't interested in revenge tours or tell-alls. I just wanted to move forward. On my terms. With my integrity intact. My old company reached out with an offer. My job back, plus a promotion, a significant raise, and my own department. The email was polite, professional, almost desperate. I read it twice, then deleted it. I had no interest in returning to a place that had discarded me so easily. Instead, I accepted a position at a competitor, a firm known for transparency and ethical practices. My title, Director of Data Integrity, felt right. My first week they assigned me a new client. When I saw the name I almost laughed. Helix Partners. The same company Marcus had sold my work to was now begging me to help clean up the disaster he'd left behind. Their CEO, a sharp woman named Patricia, apologized profusely during our first call. We had no idea Marcus was acting unethically, she said. We trusted him. I believed her. Helix had been deceived too. I agreed to consult, but only under strict terms. Full transparency, ethical oversight, and a clause that gave me final say on data handling. They agreed to everything. Working with Helix was strange at first, but it became satisfying. I rebuilt their data systems from scratch, implementing safeguards Marcus had deliberately bypassed. I trained their team on compliance and integrity. Slowly, I turned Marcus's mess into something clean, something honest, and I got paid well for it. Months passed. My reputation recovered, then grew. I started speaking at industry conferences, sharing lessons on corporate ethics and whistleblower protections. People listened. One afternoon, I received an invitation to speak at a leadership summit. The topic: Integrity is the most profitable currency. Accepted. The day of the event, I stood backstage, watching the crowd file in. Business leaders, executives, analysts, people who shaped companies and careers. My heart pounded, but I felt ready. I walked onto the stage, adjusted the microphone, and began. I told my story not with bitterness but with clarity. I talked about being framed, about the fear and isolation, about the choice to fight back with truth instead of vengeance. I spoke about the cost of silence and the power of documentation. The audience was silent, hanging on every word. As I wrapped up, I scanned the crowd. That's when I saw him. Marcus. Sitting in the back row, slouched in his seat, face hollow. He looked smaller somehow, like a shadow of the man who'd once terrorized me. Eyes met. He didn't look away. I finished my speech with a calm smile. Truth has a funny way of leaking, especially when someone tries too hard to hide it. The room erupted in applause. Marcus stood and quietly left. I watched him go, feeling nothing. No anger, no triumph. Just peace. He was a lesson I'd learned. A chapter I'd closed. And I was already writing the next one. After the conference, journalists approached me for interviews. Some wanted the drama, the scandal. I declined most of them. But I agreed to one long-form piece in a business ethics journal. I wanted the story told right. The article came out a month later. The cost of convenience. How one analyst exposed corporate fraud. It was fair, factual, and widely read. Companies started reaching out, asking me to review their internal policies. I became a consultant for whistleblower protection programs. It wasn't the career I'd planned, but it was the one I'd earned. Marcus, meanwhile, faded into obscurity. I heard through industry gossip that he was trying to rebuild, applying for teaching positions at small colleges. One posting listed him as a candidate for business ethics instructor. The irony was almost poetic. I didn't follow his life closely. I didn't need to. He was no longer my problem. My old colleagues occasionally reached out. Some apologized for ghosting me. Others pretended nothing had happened. I was polite but distant. Trust, once broken, doesn't rebuild easily. Liam and I stayed in touch. He'd left the company too, tired of the toxic culture Marcus had created. We'd grab coffee sometimes, talking about new projects and second chances. He thanked me once for not giving up. You showed me what integrity looks like, he said. I just smiled. You helped me when it mattered. That's all I needed. One quiet evening I sat in my apartment, looking through old files. I found the termination letter from that terrible day, the one that mentioned Project Helix. I read it again, shaking my head. That single lie had nearly destroyed me. But it had also revealed the truth. Marcus thought he could erase me, that he could rewrite reality to suit his needs. He underestimated one critical thing. I documented everything. Every email, every file, every timestamp. That habit, born from years of meticulous work, became my lifeline. It wasn't revenge that saved me. It was preparation. I thought about the people still trapped in toxic workplaces, still afraid to speak up. I thought about the ones who'd been silenced, discarded, framed. My story wasn't unique. It happened every day in every industry. But most people didn't fight back. Most people didn't have the resources or the evidence. I started working on a guide. How to protect yourself in the workplace. It covered documentation practices, legal rights, and steps to take if you're ever wrongfully accused. I published it online, free for anyone to download. Within weeks, thousands of people had read it. Messages poured in from across the country, from people who'd been through similar situations. Some thanked me. Others shared their own stories. It was overwhelming, but it felt right. I wasn't just rebuilding my career. I was helping others protect theirs. A year after everything happened, I received an unexpected message. It was from Patricia at Helix Partners. "We'd like to offer you a permanent position as Chief Compliance Officer," she wrote. "You've transformed how we operate. We want you to lead that change." I stared at the offer for a long time. CCO was a major role, a seat at the executive table. It meant influence, stability, and the chance to shape policy from the top. But it also meant staying in the world that had nearly broken me. I thought about it for days, weighing the risks and rewards. Finally I accepted, but on my terms. I'd work remotely 3 days a week, I'd have final authority on ethics policies, and I'd report directly to the board, not the CEO. They agreed. I started the new role with cautious optimism. The work was challenging, but it was meaningful. I built compliance programs that prioritized transparency and accountability. I trained executives on ethical decision-making. I created safe channels for employees to report misconduct without fear. Slowly, I helped reshape the culture. It wasn't perfect, no company ever is, but it was better, honest, and that mattered. Sometimes late at night I still thought about Marcus. Not with anger, but with something close to pity. He'd had everything. Talent, opportunity, respect. And he'd thrown it away for greed. He'd destroyed lives, including his own, because he thought he was untouchable. He was wrong. And I was proof. I gave another talk recently, this time at a university. Students filled the auditorium, eager and anxious about entering the workforce. I shared my story, but I focused on the lessons. Document everything. Build relationships based on trust. Know your worth. And never let fear silence you. During the Q&A, a young woman raised her hand. "What do you do when you're the only one who sees the truth?" she asked. Paused, thinking carefully. "You trust yourself," I said. "And you remember that the truth doesn't need everyone to believe it right away. It just needs time." She nodded, writing that down. After the talk, several students approached me asking for advice for mentorship. I gave them my contact information and told them to reach out any time. If I could help even one person avoid what I went through, it would be worth it. On my way out, I passed a bulletin board covered in flyers. One caught my eye. Ethics in Business, a workshop with Marcus Langford. My stomach tightened. He was here teaching. I stood there for a moment, staring at his name. Part of me wanted to rip the flyer down to warn people. But I didn't. Because the truth always surfaces. And students today are smart. They Google. They research. They'd find out who he really was. I walked away, letting it go. Marcus wasn't my responsibility anymore. My responsibility was to the people I could actually help. The ones still fighting. Still standing. Still refusing to be silenced. Life moved on. I bought a small house outside the city, a quiet place with a garden and space to breathe. I adopted a dog, a scruffy rescue who followed me everywhere. I started painting again, something I'd abandoned years ago during the endless work grind. I built a life that wasn't defined by corporate titles or office politics. I built a life that was mine. But I didn't forget. I kept a folder on my desk labeled, The Marcus Files. Inside were all the documents, all the evidence, all the proof. I didn't look at it often, but I kept it. Just in case. Because I'd learned something important. People like Marcus don't change. They rebrand. They find new victims. They tell new lies. And if he ever tried to hurt someone else, I wanted to be ready. One day I got a message from someone I didn't know. "You don't know me, but I think my boss is doing what Marcus did to you," she wrote. I don't know what to do. I read her message twice, my heart aching. Then I called her. We talked for over an hour. I listened to her story, gave her advice, and connected her with Vanessa, my lawyer friend. A few months later she reached out again. "We did it. He's gone. Thank you." I smiled, feeling that familiar mix of exhaustion and pride. This was my legacy now. Not the promotions or the titles. But this, helping people fight back. One voice at a time. I ran into Marcus one more time. It was at a coffee shop downtown, completely by chance. I was ordering my usual when I saw him sitting in the corner, hunched over a laptop, looking older and worn. He glanced up and our eyes met. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he stood, hesitating like he wanted to say something. Waited. He opened his mouth, closed it, then finally spoke. "I'm sorry." 2 words. Quiet, almost broken. I studied his face, searching for sincerity. Maybe it was there. Maybe it wasn't. I nodded once. "Okay." That was all I said. I took my coffee and left. I didn't forgive him. I didn't need to. Forgiveness wasn't something I owed him. But I didn't hate him either. Hate required energy I no longer wanted to spend. He was just a man who made terrible choices and paid the price. Nothing more. As I walked to my car, I felt lighter. That chapter of my life was truly over. Not because he apologized, but because I no longer needed anything from him. Not closure, not revenge, not validation. I had my truth. I had my integrity. And that was enough. I still work at Helix, still fight for transparency and accountability. But now I do it from a place of strength, not survival. I mentor young professionals, teach workshops, and consult for companies trying to build ethical cultures. I've turned my pain into purpose. People ask me sometimes if I regret anything. If I wish I'd handled things differently. My answer is always the same. No. Because everything I went through taught me who I am. It showed me what I'm capable of. Proved that doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when it costs you everything, is always worth it. Marcus tried to bury me. But I didn't stay buried. I rose up, rebuilt, and became stronger than he ever imagined. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I refused to let his lies define me. That's the power of truth. It doesn't shout. It doesn't fight dirty. It just waits, patient and relentless, until the right moment. And then it speaks. And when it does, everyone listens. Years later, I attended a gala for Corporate Ethics Awards. I wasn't nominated. I was presenting. As I stood on stage, looking out at the sea of faces, I thought about that rainy day when I was escorted out of my office. I thought about the fear, the shame, the crushing weight of injustice. And I thought about how far I'd come. Integrity isn't convenient, I told the audience. It's not easy. It won't always protect you in the moment. But it's the only currency that never loses value. The room applauded. Afterward, people approached me, shaking my hand, sharing their own stories. A CEO thanked me for inspiring his company's new ethics policy. A young analyst told me she kept my guide on her desk. An investigative journalist asked if I'd consider writing a book. I smiled, feeling grateful and tired and proud all at once. This wasn't the life I'd planned. But it was the life I'd earned. And it was a good one. On my way out, I passed a wall of photos. Past award winners, industry leaders, changemakers. One day maybe my photo would hang there too. But even if it didn't, it wouldn't matter. Because I'd already won the only battle that counted. The one for my own integrity. And nobody, not Marcus, not anyone, could ever take that away from me. I'm sitting in my home office now, typing this out, my dog asleep at my feet. The sun is setting, painting the walls gold. It's quiet. Peaceful. I've been asked to share my story so many times that I've lost count. Some people want the drama, the scandal. Others want the inspiration. But the truth is simpler than either. I was accused of something I didn't do. I was betrayed by someone I trusted. And I fought back, not with anger, but with patience, precision, and proof. I didn't win because I was smarter or stronger. I won because I refused to let lies become my truth. Marcus thought he could erase me, rewrite the narrative, and move on. But he forgot something important. The truth doesn't disappear just because you hide it. Wait. And when the right person comes along, someone stubborn enough, brave enough, and angry enough to dig, the truth comes out. And it always wins. So if you're reading this and you're in a situation like I was, trapped, blamed, silenced, remember. Document everything, trust yourself, and don't give up. The truth is on your side. You just have to give it time to speak. And when it does, the whole world will listen.